All right. So for today's session, we are going to work on the first part of the question, which is summary writing. It is question 1A, um, where the ability of students to select ideas for writing the summary is specifically assessed. Any questions about this particular question, or anything that you wonder about as a student?
No, miss, not anything in particular.
All right. Um, we are going to take a look at these points in today's session. We are going to take a look at the summary writing question in detail. We will take a look at a mark scheme, and we'll also read the passage, a part of the passage, for us to be prepared for the second reading. Later on, which is like the next session, would be about selecting content points and paraphrasing, where I will take you through the question and an example of how to select content points and how to paraphrase them. Next will be your selecting content points and paraphrasing, which will include basically an assignment for your independent practice. Now, this will be part one of the assignment, which is a separate assignment. And using this assignment, you'll be completing your part two of the assignment, which will be completed later on. So basically, all these steps are kind of interlinked. When you are done with assignment one with independent practice, having done the proper independent practice as guided in this session, you are going to move on to writing a coherent summary. I will share with you the tips and techniques to write the coherent summary, and I will also share with you a solved example from past papers, how those particular steps are going to help you. Next up, we have writing a coherent summary, which is assignment number two. It includes independent practice. You will work on an independent assignment on your own. Of course, it is part two, which is directly related to part one. Next will be your summary writing assignment, which includes homework from past paper practice. It is going to be a different question from the first one. Once we are done with all of this, we are going to move on to the fact and opinion question, which includes a lecture and guidance. And the last part would be the fact and opinion homework. So the fact and opinion questions also come in different forms. We'll see different examples from past papers and we'll see how they are phrased and what skills do students need to pick the correct information from the passage. Both these questions assess students' ability to select ideas from the passage, which means that students not only skim through the passage, but they'll also have a particular purpose in mind while reading the passage in the first go, and while reading the passage in the second go, and while reading the passage in the third go. So they will have different objectives while reading the passage at each stage of the lesson. All right. Any questions about the agenda of this particular section?
No, miss.
Okay. Moving on to the next part, I'm going to display in today's session, you will learn to comprehend the summary writing question by breaking it down to chunks and applying reading strategies to select relevant ideas required in the question. If I ask you to take a moment, uh, go to the chat box, and I want you to write down those keywords that you had never ever paid attention to before that you see on the screen. Things that you think are important. I'll switch my slide to the chat box now. Right. Comprehend. Okay. Is there anything else? Breaking it into chunks. Yes. All right. Applying strategies. Okay, reading strategies. All right. So, yes, in today's session, our focus would be first of all comprehending the summary writing question, which, and lastly, selected ideas. Thank you so much. Absolutely. So, you said comprehend, breaking it to chunks, applying strategies, and lastly, selecting ideas. All right. Um, the question that usually is rushed through in usual sessions at school um, require some deeper understanding. These questions require more attention and a slow paced understanding. Sometimes you need to take a break and focus on the seemingly unimportant things. And usually when students receive a question in front of them and then they see, okay, it is a short question, I can just rush to the passage, rush to writing the summary, and end up writing incorrect information in the summary. The biggest reason is that they do not pay attention and they do not practice comprehending the question enough. So, the first step is to comprehend the question first um, by breaking it into chunks, and applying reading strategies is this next step. All right. Assalamu alaikum, Ishal. So, it is the intro. When we say comprehend, how is it different from regular understanding? Or is there any difference? What do you understand? What do you think? What is the difference between the two? Okay, could you please unmute your mics? I will not be taking a look at the chat box right now, just the screen. They are basically used.
Um, I think the basic difference is to like the comprehend. To comprehend means like to grasp or to to read thoroughly. I mean,
Okay.
by understanding its meaning.
Okay. Basically, the two words, yes, you're right. They're basically two words which are interchangeably used. Grasping or understanding is basically understanding. So, yes, I understand what you mean to say. There we go. But comprehending may stress the process of coming to grips with something intellectually. This is the dictionary information by Merriam-Webster's. According to Merriam Webster's, comprehend means stressing upon the process of coming to grips with something intellectually. So it is a step by step process. Comprehend would also go a little deeper, which focuses on the step by step understanding. All right. So to understand is to basically mentally, but to comprehend is to mentally grasp something's complete nature or meaning. So basically, we understand is that it is usually stronger than understanding. That is why we usually use the term comprehend the meaning of the text, not just really get it or understand it, but comprehend, which means completely from all aspects, tackle it. All right, we will break it into chunks, the question, and then we are going to apply the reading strategies to select relevant ideas. There are certain question attacking strategies. We will learn those as well. There are certain strategies we will use while selecting content points in tomorrow's session. We will apply them today. Please note that whatever things you learn in the class, you are free to apply them in your own time, in your own practice, but please use that time. If you've got past paper booklets, please go open them after the lesson. Of course, like you will have like an entire day to practice, of course, in addition to the subjects, and apply those techniques to this just questions, just the question statements that you get in the question papers. All right, today's task is just focusing on the question. That is it. All right. um Next, we will break them into chunks, the question statement, and then we will understand how to apply certain reading strategies, which will also include the attacking strategy to select relevant ideas required in the question. All right. So now I am going to go to the this part of the session, which is your summary writing question. We also have it on our on our slides. All right. Um, Summary writing question. Basically, it is section one of reading for ideas. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Would you like to read the question, please?
Miss the whole question. So
Yes.
here it is written, identify and write down the information in the passage which describes the origins and the development of circuses in former times and the development and spread of circuses in more modern times as outlined in the passage.
Okay. Is it more modern or it's just modern? My mistake, I guess. I think
Or more modern.
it is more modern. Yes. All right. It is more modern. All right. So what I'll do is now I'm going to just share the paper screen so that you can be familiar with that more. Um, well, it is more or less the same thing. Okay. Why these two words are in bold? Can anyone tell me?
Um,
Yes, please go ahead.
it is mainly the rubric that that they want us to identify from the passage.
Okay, a rubric. Okay, I'm glad that you know the term rubric and you understand that. Okay, yes, that's a success criteria. When we identify um, the content points, also known as notes, it is our ability to pinpoint the content points that are required. Once we identify, where do we exactly identify them? Basically, usually what happens is that when we identify content points, we use the passage and we underline the content points there. Okay. Now, next comes the instruction, which is write down. These are imperatives. You identify and then you write down in the given space. Once you've identified the notes, your required points in the question, in the passage, you open your question paper, the space here, and you use this space. The question has already given you the space to write down the information in the passage. Now, the first step for us is to understand the requirements of the question. All right. So if you had a pen in your hands, which parts would you encircle or underline? This is also one question attacking strategy. Which points would you encircle or highlight in this part of the question? Identify and write down is already
Describe
bold.
the origins and development of circuses in former times.
Mhm.
And the second thing I'll underline is the development and spread of circuses in more modern times.
Perfect. Very good. Okay. So we know that the question, whatever points we identify, which means we underline, we need to ensure that those points are relevant to these two required sections. One is origins and development of circuses. Origins, evolution, start, beginning, right? Development of circuses. What would you mean by development? Okay, things I need to look at is what? Information that tells me how it spread, how the evolution was, things that were introduced, things that grew the circuses in former times. Former times, the olden times, ancient times, earlier days. Right? So while reading the question, I will underline first of all this part. Guys, right now I'm just focusing on this part of the question, okay? Which is the origins and development of circuses in former times. First of all, while reading the passage, I need to see the origins first. Of course, the information will also be in such an order that you would understand which point is about origins and which point is about the development of circuses in former times. That makes up to the first section. So origins would include what? Like, what do you imagine before you even go to the passage? What comes to your mind? What kind of sentences would show you the origins? What keywords would
The
include?
past ones,
Okay, give me an example.
for example, circus was originated in such a country, and they will mention the name of that country,
Hmm.
country or.
Okay. Do you think that they will necessarily use the word originated?
No.
Some other words?
Like they do not give us like they do not make it apparent, but if we read the passage, they may the points make sense. Like the particular paragraphs make sense that this paragraph is containing the words. For example, obviously it is apparent that they will start from the
Hmm.
origin and development. So like they should be starting that circuses were first founded by this person and in this country, and they will be giving the example. So this makes us understand that this they are writing about the origin or origin or any particular point in that paragraph.
Okay, good. Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to ask one word. So one word could be. You gave me an example that circus was started by. So we have to like come up with like similar words we can think of. We are not even moving to the passage yet, but we know and we will understand that yes, it would start in that way. So that is one tip to save your time. That you would exactly know. Okay, origins would mean like what found, started, began, the one who started it invented it, if it was like something about an invention or something. Development would talk about mostly what a spread. Development would talk about the introduction of new techniques, new things, new ideas, and we would understand this point is about the development of circuses in former times. Whatever we are doing right now is to understand the keywords. I would encircle the word origin, sorry, I would encircle the word origin, I would encircle the word development, and as I read the passage, this identifying would be going on in my head and on my question paper, the insert paper, the passage, and I'd like start numbering the points. Please remember whatever I'm saying. This is something that most of the teachers do not spend enough time on. Number, underline, highlight. Essentially, well, it is not okay to do it in the exam paper, but while you're practicing you can use like two colored pencils, or two colored not markers but two colored pencils, separate colors. It would really really help. Like I would go for a green color for origins and development of circuses in former times, and the development and spread, I can use another color pencil for that. It really really helps. So especially the one students who are like visual learners, who understand through colors, through visuals, videos, graphics, they really really do well, because it helps. Like if I were a student, I would really go and just use two color pencils. Please mark my words, I'm not saying use color pencils in the exam hall on the exam paper. No, I'm just saying for your practice, once you have enough practice using past paper questions, you would know exactly what to do. Another one could be using a zigzag line for one part, like a zigzag line, and using a curved line or a straight line for another part. That is another way of doing it. Okay, any questions about this part or how to attack the question right now? What did we do so far?
No, miss, all clear.
All clear? Okay. Do not think that it is too slowed down, because this is what it needs to be, and this is how it should be at this point in time. Um, the development and spread of circuses in more modern times. So I just go on into the passage and I understand. Okay, this is a part. One thing, keep in mind that sometimes the question would say use material from passage one, from paragraph XYZ to paragraph XYZ. It could be paragraph 1 to 4. It could be paragraph 5 to 4, 5 to 6. It could be paragraph 8 to 10. If the question says use material from the whole passage, it means that you need to go and read the entire passage. If the question says paragraph 3 to 8, then go for paragraph 3 to 8 and save time. Okay? How many of you knew about it before? Or did you even like,
I knew that.
okay, you need, good. Did you pay attention to this before?
Yes, miss. And in some of the instances, they also write, for example, from paragraph 1 to 6, inclusive or exclusive, which means we have to either include or exclude that
Well
those
done.
paragraphs.
Very good. Okay. At this stage, yes, you do not need to use your own words. You can use note form, which specifically means you are going to use the bullets. To help you get started, the first point in each section of notes is done for you. You may find it helpful to use bullet points when listing the content points. When the question it specifically says write down, you know, listing down, and bullet points, you need to use bullet points. You can use to save your time. It is a good idea to use number bullets. Many students lose time by just writing the same bullet style, which is perfectly fine. It may work for some people, it may not work for some people. It is up to you. But in my experience, I have seen the students who already usually use bullet numbers. It really, really helps them. You will be awarded up to 12 marks for content points. Now, the first content point is done for you for each of the two sections. For example, the origins and development of circuses in former times. Juggling skills have their origins in Egypt and China. Now, this one is already given, and you will not get any marks for this one because it is done for you already. Um, but remember that you need to move on to the next bullet point, select the idea from the passage, but keep in mind that whatever bullet points you list down, they need to be non overlapping, separate, overarching ideas. Similarly, the development and spread of circuses in more modern times, again, you will not get any points for this one, but you'll have to come up with your own points. Write the points from the passage. Please remember, in total, you will get 12 marks for the complete list of content points. But remember, there is no set limit to how many from part A and how many from part B. Did you understand that? There is no limit as such. In total, you will be writing at least. Now, the question says 12 marks for content points. I suggest and I advise you to write down from 12 to 15 content points. Why am I saying that?
Because in case if we get two or three wrong, we can still score full marks because there is no negative marking.
Because there's no negative marking, you would still get marks for this one. Okay, moving on. We have got the passage right in front of us. We will read and identify content points, right? Um, I will go to the passage first together so that we get the flavor of the paper as well. Okay, hold on. Do you want to read it on the slide? Okay, let's read it on the slide. I think that is going to make it better for us. So, um, okay, please start reading. Okay, yeah, yeah. I think you'd like to. Okay, please pause just a second. Students, keep in mind that in order to be able to access your course material, you need to be using your phone, your laptop, not the phone or any other device, because of course you'd have to, you're studying laptop or computer, because this is how it should work. You may be able to access it once twice, but again, students face problems because they do not read the instructions carefully. Also, please mark the sessions that are complete as complete. Yeah, yeah, I saw that you did mark it. And I'm going to get the feedback, the progress. I can see your progress on the LMS page as well. Ishal, I want you to do that as well. And please make sure that when you're studying, you have your time set. You're using a laptop or computer. That should help you actually, because of course the screen size is different. All right.
But miss, what is the advantage of marking those that are complete?
That beta, of course, if you, when you mark it complete, it will show your progress, how much percent is done. And then at the end, of course, when it is time to get the certificate, it should be like 100%. You really can't really jump to 100% before completing the 6% or 7% or 20%. Are you getting it? So each lesson
Okay,
or
I
stage
got it.
of the passage of the course contributes to the completion of your progress. All right, I get a notification for your completion status. All right, and in case you have any
Yes, miss.
questions, I will also share where you can leave your comments. Okay, I think I can read it out loud. Now we need to keep in mind, what are we selecting first? Origins and development of circuses in former times. Paragraph number 1. uh, Circuses, passage 1. Circuses have their roots in former times, and the features we might associate with them nowadays have developed through the centuries. Okay, I want you to read it out loud. Yeah, yeah, is that fine?
Yes, miss.
Okay, beta, please start.
Circuses have their roots in former times, and the features we might associate with them nowadays have developed through the centuries. Juggling skills still attributed to circus former performers have their origins in Egypt and China. A tomb painting for an Egyptian prince who lived 17,000 years ago depicts juggling, which also which was also a well regarded Chinese art form. Acrobatic traditions found in modern circuses, performances of extraordinary human feats of balance, agility, and coordination, were found in ancient Greece and Rome as well as in medieval Europe.
Okay, thank you so much. Let us quickly take a look at the information we have. Do we have information about the circuses in former times or modern times?
Yes, miss.
Former times. Okay.
From
Let us quickly take a look at if you were to, because I do have the solutions in front of me as well. I will also share this solved slide tomorrow, inshallah, when we come back. But let us quickly find, do we have any sentence about the origins? We are given that one,
yes, miss.
which is,
Juggling skills still attributed to circus performers to have their origins in Egypt and China.
so basically, it started in the form of juggling. That
Yes,
is basically rooted in Egypt and China. Okay, that's
China.
a given sentence for us. Let's move on. A tomb painting for an Egyptian prince who lived 17,000 years ago depicts juggling, which was also a well regarded Chinese art form. Do you think you would also include this sentence?
No, miss, because it is an example and is not showing any.
Main point. Very good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the main point is that the origins go back in China and Egypt, and the example of Egyptian prince will not be included in your summary. Perfect. Acrobatic traditions found in modern circuses, which is performance of extraordinary human feats of balance, agility, and coordination, were found in ancient Greece and Rome, as well as in medieval Europe. Now, what are we going to pick from this sentence? Do we have something here for the summary?
Yes, miss. Yes, acrobatic traditions found in modern circuses were found in ancient Greece and Rome as well as in medieval Europe.
Okay, so would you really go for this one as well, like acrobatic traditions found in modern circuses, or you'll just say, okay, acrobatic
Oh,
traditions?
no, no, no.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
were found in
Did you
ancient.
get it? You'll just pick this
Yes, miss,
point.
I got it.
All right, Ishal, could you please share how much is your understanding level at this point? All clear? Okay, let's move on. All right. Yeah. Would you like to explain? Okay, read out loud and then we move on.
The second paragraph.
Yes.
In Rome, a circus was a building used for entertainment involving sports and animals. People flocked to circuses for horse riding shows, chariot races, and
Chariot races.
chariot races and gladiatorial combat. The most famous circus in Rome and Circus Maximus, which had a capacity of around 200,000 spectators, and there were other popular circuses throughout the Roman Empire. Circuses were also associated with spectacle, which meant that the organizers thought nothing of flooding the circus with water in order to reenact a famous sea battle. For example, circuses were social centers, a tradition which turned out to be a long one. For instance, the hippodrome. The Hippodrome of Constantinople, a kind of circus, operated from its opening in the year 203
Mm-hmm.
until the end of the 13th century. It had an estimated capacity of 60,000 spectators who enjoyed a day out and a chance to catch up with friends.
Okay, we're going to apply the same strategies. If you have a pencil in your hand, of course, because I asked you to just download it to your computers. So when you read it in your own time, I would want you to use Adobe Acrobat Reader or some other tool to underline the selected points that you would include in your summary. Okay, because your next session, like next assignment, would be similar to this one. Okay, let's take a look at and apply the same strategies. In Rome, a circus was a building used for entertainment involving sports and animals. People flocked to circuses for horse riding shows, chariot races, and gladiatorial combat. Which point would you pick from here?
In Rome, a circus was a building used for entertainment
Okay, there we
involving
go.
sports and animals.
Perfect. Okay. The most famous circus in Rome was the Circus Maximus. Would you include that also?
No, miss, it is an example.
There we go. Excellent. And notice that for every paragraph we have a a topic sentence, and especially it will help you when it comes to writing the argumentative essays. And there were other popular circuses throughout the Roman Empire. All right. Circuses were also associated with spectacle, which meant that the organizers thought nothing of flooding the circus with water in order to reenact a famous sea battle. Um, yes, you would pick also this point. They were associated with
Yes,
spectacle, right? Next
yes, miss.
point is they were social centers, a tradition which turned out to be a long one, which of course lasted a longer one. And then we've got another example, the Hippodrome of Constantinople, a kind of circus, operated from its opening in the year 203 until the end of the 13th century. It had an estimated capacity of 60,000 spectators who enjoyed a day out and a chance to catch up with friends. If we just take a look at the number of points we have picked from here, we've got 1 point from the first paragraph and 3 points from the second paragraph, right? And these are both about the
The former times and the
former
origin.
times. Absolutely. Origins and development of circuses in former times. Let's read
Former times.
the third paragraph now. Ancient Greek and Roman theater made use of comic characters, also associated with circuses. Again, main point, we know that it is a
Yes,
non.
miss.
If you notice one thing, if I'm just going over, like I think I should stop here now for a moment and let us go back to the points. I will just read them out loud. Rather, I would want you to tell me which points should I stop, so that we will see if those are overlapping points or non-overlapping points. Okay.
Okay,
um
miss.
First we identified, let's see this one, origins in Egypt and China was given to us. This
Yes,
is
miss.
where it started in the form of juggling. Then we talked about the performances were found in ancient Greek and Rome as well as medieval Europe. So we talked about the places, right, where the ancient
Yes, miss.
um, yes acrobatic traditions were found. Then we move on to the circus was basically building used for entertainment involving sports and animals. Are these overlapping points? But they're different. They're completely different, right?
Uh, yes, they are different.
Circuses were also associated with spectacle, completely non overlapping,
Different.
different point. Circuses were social centers, non overlapping,
Different.
different. Keep in mind, non overlapping, different. Non overlapping, different. There we go. Ancient Greek and Roman theater made use of comic characters. So, using comic characters was associated with circuses. Now we are coming to the development as such. In former times, but development, like there's a new use of comical or humorous characters, right? These
Yes, miss.
introduced humor through their hilarious behavior. A development of the comic character was the clown, who, as well as being funny, exemplified a range of human emotions and what it means to be human. Okay, now when you have this in front of you, I will just share a link with you guys here. Rather, let me just open it and share it on my screen. Just a second. All right. Now, this is my blog post on writing the summary. I want you to, like, in your spare time, when you have time, you can take a look at it. Of course, it is information for general public to take a look at it, especially students. Um, I hope you can see the screen now. Okay, not yet. Just a minute. All right. All right. This is my blog post on writing the perfect summary for O-level English, which is applicable for the students appearing in 2023, because it includes the questions from past papers. If you just move on to the steps here, okay. When selecting the content points, the biggest question is, am I selecting correct points? Are they relevant? Are they correct? Are they required? The best thing is, of course, to underline the key chunks of the question as we chunked the question today. And then moving on to asking yourself, what did we just discuss? While we were looking at the content points, the highlighted content points, we said, are they non overlapping and different? Did we use that term? Yes or no?
Yes, miss.
Quickly
Very
take
close.
notes. Okay, I hope you have your notes with you, like notebook. Quickly take notes. While selecting content points, ask yourself, are they different and non overlapping? These two criteria must be fulfilled.
Yes, miss.
All right. As you mentioned, yes, we are not going to include any details unless, because of course, if not asked in the question, avoid writing the details that support the main point. Okay, we are just focusing on the main idea. For example, circuses were used as social centers. Circuses were eventually used for spectacle. They were, and then comical characters were introduced. So these are the main points. These do not include the details. Sometimes what happens is, please remember details, DIERQ. Details, irrelevant points, examples, repetitions, and quotations. Irrelevant points are you're asked to write about the former times and the main point, but you're writing an example as a result, or irrelevant point, which may be about something else. Maybe modern point, like circus's evolution in the modern times, maybe, and you write it in the wrong place. It will still be not correct to write it down in that way. Do not do not write points which are not required in the question, because the summary writing question will have a focus. In this particular question, we read the focus, we understood that, and we divided into chunks. Examples, unless required in the summary question. For example, there was this one particular about the uses of honey in former times. The users would have, of course, more examples there. If not asked in the question, avoid examples. No repetitions, even if the original text has repetitions of one point in different words, do not repeat. Similarly, quotations, do not include any quotations by um, anyone in the passage. Okay, all right, that you can.
Yes, miss.
All right, any questions? I have shared the link with you guys, so you can take a look at that on your own. Um, Let me just share the slide one again. We're going to go and read the passage. Okay, that's what we have right now. Let's move on and go back. Okay, paragraph number 4. What might be called the modern circus began when horse riding shows were performed. Now, how do you know the change of topic?
Modern circus they have included as
Absolutely. Okay, so we got almost like 4 points from the first part, and now we need to at least have like in total 12 points. Um, what might be called the modern circus began when horse riding shows were performed. So we know this was the first point. If we go back to the question and focus on the requirement for the modern part, spread, development and spread of circuses in modern times. Development and spread. Development would be what? Let us come up with like points that you may expect to read in the passage. It will include what?
the new inventions in this.
New addition, okay, new variations, new technology or new methods, right? Spread would
Yes,
include what?
its popularity.
Popularity. And how do we know it being
Like it's
common?
spread in these areas.
Definitely geographies in more areas, more parts of the world. All right, so we need to understand, even while selecting points for the second section here, we are given an example here. Horse riding shows were performed in a circle. That was the development in the modern times, right? It is not about the spread. Even within that, we should understand what are we talking about. Are we giving the development or spread? Although it is not required, but as a good reader, using attacking strategies, using close reading strategies, you should be able to understand what you're writing and what is the requirement. And that is why there are times when you'll have to go back to the question paper and see, oh, am I really writing it? One quick tip for you guys. If I were a student writing the summary or reading the passage for summary writing, I would underline these points that I've highlighted already, and I would just here use this space to the left and to the right, and I would write like number one, A1, B1, A1, B1, C1, D1, or maybe 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. Why am I saying that? Why would I do that somewhere here using a pencil? Why?
Um, that is the same practice the examiner also do if you have seen the examiner reports.
Mm-hmm.
Like he also on the CIs. Have you seen the examiner reports that the Cambridge provides?
Beta, I'm a Cambridge teacher, then why wouldn't I have seen them? Of course I
Oh,
do.
sorry,
Um,
stupid question.
okay, no, there's no question in the world which is stupid unless it is like totally off the point. Yes, I have, but if you notice, I just do not go by the book. I come up with my own strategies as well because I have been training teachers also. I have worked as a literacy coordinator. You'd see my profile on the course module pages also.
Yes.
The best thing is, of course, you need to be able to come up with short smart strategies that will help you um, do the best in the least with the least possible effort and in the minimum time. So if I just write, okay, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, that would help me as a reader, as a writer, as a student. It would help me to write my summary quickly because I would not have enough time to open the question and read it again the third time and the fourth time. So to save my time, I'd say, okay, this is number 1A, 1B, 1C. There we go. I've got my 4 points. I don't have to look here and there another um, flood of information around the target points. That's what I call. I do not, honestly, I do not go by just by the examiner reports. That's the last step that you take a look at. That is why I always share the examiner reports when we prepare for the past papers, using past papers, practice past papers, right, for the exam.
Yeah.
So
Got
for
it.
summary writing, I don't even have to look at the examiner reports. We all know if we are good at selecting ideas, you can write a summary of anything and anywhere, even if you pick a newspaper and I say, okay, now write a summary, come on, about this and that. You should be able to. The idea is not just to ace the examiner exams papers, but also to apply the same strategies in your um, social studies exam papers like Pakistan studies and history and geography and Islamiyat and other subjects, right? It is the reading skill that matters. Remember, we are just not working on the tips and techniques I'm giving to you are not just for the exam only. Of course, that is our bigger goal, but these are going to help you throughout your life. Throughout your life. All right, any questions? We're going to continue from
No,
here tomorrow, inshallah. All right, can we quickly recap what we did today? Ishal, I want you to take a look at the chat box, type it in. I think she's left. All right. Um, yeah. What did we do today? And what did you specifically do, learn, understand?
we at first you like gave us a little introduction about the summary, and then like we identified the key points that are given in the question, and then you told us that we have to identify the two main ideas for which we have to gather the points and write the summary about, and then we went to the passage and went through it in order to collect some of the points that we use in a summary, and then you told us about the techniques of how we should be selecting our points for our summary, and then um, we had a look at your journal, and in which you also showed that us that the criteria for selection, such as we have to like the best way to ensure that that the points we are choosing are correct, because is the way that we like to like test them, are they
Mm.
is each point different and is giving up a different meaning and is independent of the others, and we do not have to write, unless asked in the question, we do not have to write any other content point that is supporting the main idea. We have to write different and independent ideas, and then we know that we are like when we are writing about independent points, and then that is the best idea in order to look for them. And then these and the main criteria is that they should be different, independent, and
Mm.
we should not be writing any quotations or examples in the or any instances that have been given in the passage.
All right, very
And
good. Yeah.
lastly, in order to gain full marks in this section, in this like the content point section, we should be writing, because it is of 12 marks, we should be writing of about 15 points, so that even if we get two or three wrong, we can still score full marks in.
Perfect. Okay, absolutely. It was such a comprehensive answer. Well done. Clapping for you. Okay, coming to this point now, very good. I think you should not be having any issues with handling this particular question. I am
Yes,
expecting
it's
good
all
work
clear.
from you, inshallah. Now, coming to the practice. Now, there are, okay, let me just share this part. All right. Now, Although because it is all planned ahead of time, because every student works in their own capacity at their own speed also, right? So you'd have to mark all of these complete, and now we have this one. We are done with this. Once we're done with this, just mark it complete. Moving on to this one, of course it will be done on your it will be done tomorrow. We have started doing it today. We have started reading for content points, not paraphrasing as such. I haven't given you the example walkthrough that I'll give you tomorrow. But remember, whatever you did today, what you can do is you can apply the same underlining technique on your past papers in your own time today, just to reinforce, just to reinforce.
Okay.
And coming to your chat box here, the blog post, yes, I have. Please save the link to your drive or whatever you have. Save the link or
Miss, I
bookmark
tried,
it.
but I'm unable. Can you send me it on like?
I will write it in the comments. Okay, I will save.
Okay.
Okay, here you will
Thank
see
you,
the
Miss.
comments, beta. Here, here you will see the comments. Okay, here,
Yes. Yes.
in today's session, under today's session, in the comments area, you would be able to see it. Just a second. Although it is the teachers one, I will send. Okay, now you should not be able to see it like that. Okay, hold on. I will send it here, and you under today's topic, you'll be able to see the comment. Okay,
Okay, Miss. Thank you.
all right. Any other questions? Please do
No,
not
Miss.
think that there is not enough practice. There is a lot coming your way. First we start easy, and then I'm going to like drill through it. You'll have enough assignments, but practice what I have taught you today, at least 2 to 3 exam papers. All right, the
Okay,
question
Miss.
attacking strategies. All right, so we'll see tomorrow, inshallah. We'll take a look at the second session tomorrow.
Okay, Miss.
Allah hafiz.
Allah
Allah
Hafiz.
hafiz.